Hey folks, big week for MJ Stocks. Going to get started with today's live stream here momentarily. I am on vacation traveling to the East Coast here in the Maritimes in Canada, Prince Edward Island, visiting friends and family. So try to keep this one a little bit shorter today, but obviously I said I'd come on if anything major happened, and we knew to be expecting some major events over the next few weeks and months based on the charts. Show me the charts, I'll tell you the news, as the saying goes, but we're going to get started here in about a minute or so. We'll give it for people to another minute or so for people to join us, as it was a little bit last minute, but just sit tight and we'll get started here momentarily. I see we have some people joining the live stream. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here in about a half a minute or so. Just sit tight, and like I said, we'll give it another half a minute for people to join us, as it was a little bit of a last minute live stream. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from, whenever you're tuning in. It's Rod with Powder. Welcome back in the Pursuit of Wealth. Your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community on the planet. And if you were following the best MJ community on the planet, this news that broke yesterday would not have been a surprise. I've seen a ton of people saying that they couldn't believe this news came out. They were not expecting it. I don't see how they could not be expecting it. And if they weren't, they should have been tuning into Pow Group, because we've been telling people this for months, if not very often over the last few weeks. It's been something. I literally just did an interview with Cannabis Biotech CFO Nick Sosiak, and during that live stream I talked about how that could happen anytime. And I was looking at the charts, and as the saying goes, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. So for those of you that don't think that technical analysis works or charting has any sense behind it, this is exactly why we look at it. It's not a crystal ball. It's kind of a leading indicator, right? Usually you start to see the charts move and then you get the news. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future updates or when I do another live stream. Today is Thursday. It's August 31st. It's the last day of the month. Hope you're well. And obviously the news that broke yesterday was HHS recommended rescheduling MJ to Schedule 3. So this is something that I mentioned time and time again. I've been screaming from the rooftops for the last few weeks, but I've been mentioning it for at least a few months now. And we expected that the most likely scenario was going to be Schedule 3, right? They would do a crawl, walk, run approach. They're not just going to go and deschedule it, in my opinion. Could they? It's not final yet, right? The HHS recommendation is to reschedule from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So we'll go through the news. I'll give my thoughts and opinions, what we can potentially look out for. We'll look at the charts as well. We'll see what the charts are saying today, what we can expect from a technical perspective. Maybe we need to cool off a little bit. But one thing I am looking out for is the mainstream media to start saying that, oh, this is just a recommendation. Don't get your hopes up, right? It still has to go to the DEA, and then it still has to go through other departments, right? So they're going to use this as a way to kind of calm things down, right? Nothing goes in a straight line up forever, and nothing goes in a straight line down, right? It ebbs and flows, right? They're going to use this as a way to go short and then long and then short and long, and it's just going to be a roller coaster ride. So if you're wondering, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, is now too late? Like, did I miss my chance to enter? No, you did not. And this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Don't buy anything because I say or anything that I write. You need to buy something because you understand. But there's so many catalysts coming. Something we need to keep in mind as well is safe banking. We could see some talks with regards to that after the August recess. So realistically, in the next few weeks, we could get a vote on that. We could get Florida on the ballot. There's the MJ Act review here in Canada. There's tons of catalysts to be looking out for. And then Germany coming online as well. And then there's just going to be more game theory playing out, right? More and more countries, more and more states following suit, right? Ohio as well, another big one. But yeah, the Florida market's going to be a huge market as well. So we'll discuss all that and more. And we'll go through some of the news articles today. But before we get to it, make sure to check out POW merch as well. Better now is as good a time as any to start looking at some of this. I've got a Team Tilray. I know this one's definitely the most popular one. It helps support the channel as well. But yeah, you can check out the merch here, Team Tilray. And there's tons of other products on there as well. And make sure to give POW Group a follow on X, which is formerly Twitter. The handle for that's @GroupPOW. And again, if you're looking for real-time updates, that's the platform of choice I'm going to be using going forward. So @GroupPOW on X, make sure to give that a follow. But obviously, people in the POW Group private community, that's where my main focus is, right? So I focus on that. I usually just post real-time updates on X and things like that, but I don't actually go into full-blown conversation because I save that majority of my time is in the POW Group private community. So if you haven't signed up for that, you can check out powgroup.ca or pursuitofwealthgroup.com. But this was the original article here from Bloomberg. So U.S. health officials urge moving MJ to lower risk category. And a lot of people couldn't view that because they do that stupid teaser where you have to actually go and pay for the article or sign up for their service, which I don't understand in this day and age how anybody does that. It's if it's breaking news, and it's mainstream media news, it took a while for other sites to kind of catch up. But a lot of people didn't really know what it meant, right? And what I've been saying on the channel for the last few weeks, for the last few months, is that this is more than likely going to happen, right? Based on the charts, and it just made sense, right? To have it on the same Schedule 1 as heroin, right, just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And we know that there's medical benefits. We know that it doesn't really have any kind of addictive. Maybe a little bit, but nothing like heroin or something like that, right? But we knew that this was the most likely scenario, and it removes 280E. So I said safe banking would be great, right? I'm not knocking safe banking. I think we need it. We need to get uplisting to the NYSE and the NASDAQ. We need to get these companies and dispensaries away from all cash businesses in the U.S., right? It's also charging you a debit fee. So essentially they're treating it as a debit transaction. So even though you can use your debit card when you go into these dispensaries in the U.S., they're still dinging you with another fee, right? And then often your bank charges you a fee on top of that, right? You get an ATM fee and then a bank fee. So you're getting double feed, right? Whereas if they were able to join the traditional banking system, then MasterCard even recently banned debit purchases and whatnot, right? So that's a big thing, and that's going to encourage maybe these lawmakers in the U.S. to start passing more comprehensive reform, because it just doesn't make any sense. I can't go and buy medicine, right? If I have a prescription to buy medicine, I can't buy it with my credit card. I have to use my ATM, or I have to go to an ATM, take money out, get dinged twice, or I can pay at the dispensary, but they're just essentially doing the same thing, treating as an ATM. Not only that, it's very, very dangerous to be operating as a cash business for not only the people running the business, but the people working there, right? The staff. So getting away from that cash business, joining the 21st century, right? Joining the rest of the world and having credit card purchases, that's a big one. And then, removal of 280E. So safe banking, uplisting to the NYSE and the NASDAQ, obviously that will be huge. There's so many catalysts it's not even funny. So this by far is the best news that we've had in the MJ industry realistically since Canada legalized here, at home here in Canada. That's where I reside. So realistically, this has been the best news. Remember when the Democrats took control of the Senate on hopes of legalization, and MJ stocks went on a crazy run, right? Tilray went to like $67, then down to like $1.50. This is even bigger than that, right? Because that was just on hopes of the U.S. legalizing, right? This is actual reform that, well, it hasn't happened yet. It's a recommendation to the DEA. DEA still has to sign off on it, but in my opinion, it'll be soon. And then I'm not going to go through all of these articles, but we'll just go through and we'll highlight some key points. So in a historic move for the industry, Biden administration sent a letter to the DEA recommending that the federal agency remove MJ from Schedule 1 and reclassify it as Schedule 3, removing it from the list of drugs of no medical value or high potential for abuse. If this recommendation results in rescheduling, the implications for the MJ industry could be enormous. Well, I wouldn't say could be, it would be. Because like I said, this would remove 280E tax burden, which is eating into, it's been said 30-40% of companies' bottom line. So if you look at Curaleaf, for example, Boris Jordan, the founder there and the executive chairman, he said if not for 280E, Curaleaf would already be paying a dividend. Okay, so think about that. They paid over $350 million to the U.S. government under federal 280E tax code. If it wasn't for that, if that money wasn't going to the government, right, under federal taxes, then it would go to their bottom line, and they would have a lot more, money at the end of the month, right? Instead of month at the end of the money. So they would have all this extra profit that they could offer as a dividend. So that's why I did a video. If you haven't seen that, that's why, words matter. That's why we have to pay attention to some of the things. And we just knew it was a matter of time. So we'll go through this here a little bit quicker. So MJ stocks across the market saw significant spikes right now. Tilray's up over 7%, MSOS up over 14% on the day as well. We'll look at the charts here in a moment. Not quite exuberance and celebration, but cautious optimism. The move doesn't mean the federal government is legalizing MJ, but they are showing their willingness to work with the industry. So you're starting to see the narrative now. Don't get your hopes up, right? Don't get too excited, right? This is just a recommendation. It's not, while that's true, it's just a matter of time, right? It's not if, but when, right? So again, if you're thinking you missed the boat, this is nothing. The MJ industry hasn't seen anything yet. Wait until the actual wait until the DEA approves and then the Biden administration signs it into law, and then we get maybe even legalization of medical, then full-blown legalization at the adult use in the US, right? So there's so many catalysts. Florida entering the ballot for adult use. Ohio, we've got, the MJ Act under review here in Canada, Germany coming online, the rest of the EU, the rest of the world, right? We're still in the first inning. I would say not even through the first inning yet. So you are so early to the party, it's not even funny. The current Schedule 1 status of MJ means the DEA and the federal government see no medical value in it and high potential for abuse. So if that's the case, we just knew that it was going to get rescheduled, right? And they're not going to deschedule it, in my opinion. They're not going to treat it as alcohol and tobacco right out of the gate because, again, that doesn't give them the ability to manipulate markets. What are markets? They're unorderly and manipulated. What is the goal of the SEC? To create fair and orderly markets, which we know that is not how the market works. That's what they want you to believe. But that's not how it works, right? They use all this red tape and this government, political theater to create ups and downs so that they can short the market, they can go long, and then they don't want everything to go straight up in a straight line forever. They want to create ebbs and flows, right? They want to create higher lows and higher highs, lower highs and lower lows, so that they can sell the rallies, buy the dips, right? And then they can just do it over and over again, and then basically tease retail and use us as exit liquidity. And it's just the way the markets work, right? So we knew it was probably going to be a crawl, walk, run approach, right? They weren't just going to, but they could, right? This is just a recommendation. Maybe the DEA comes back and says, maybe we think Schedule 2, and then that sets everybody back. And then maybe they say, Schedule 4, or maybe they say no schedule at all. Maybe they treat it like alcohol and tobacco. I don't think that's going to happen. I said that Schedule 3 was the most likely, in my opinion, and that's exactly what happened. So government sees no medical value, grouping it in the same group as heroin and cocaine. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Moving it to Schedule 3 would mean the opposite. They recognize MJ does have medical value and does not have a high potential for abuse, which will put MJ in the same classification as ketamine, testosterone, and Tylenol. Importantly, the move would, and how many people die from Tylenol, right? Remember that video I posted? If all alcoholics were on MJ or something like that, and is MJ, what's the lethality of MJ? The answer is 0, right? Tylenol kills thousands of people a year, and MJ kills 0, right? It's different if you're under the influence in MJ and you're driving a car or something like that, and you kill someone driving a car. Well, that's not really MJ. That's you driving the car when you shouldn't have been, right? But actual consumption of MJ does not result in death, right? Or lethality, right? Tylenol, if you abuse Tylenol, doesn't matter if you're driving a car or not. If you're at home taking Tylenol and you take too many, you could die, right? So it just doesn't make any sense. In my opinion, it shouldn't even be on the same level playing field as Tylenol. So importantly, the move would remove dreaded 280E tax burden that has plagued the MJ industry with huge tax penalties. It would also lift many barriers to study MJ that have hindered research for decades. Last year, Biden and HHS review of MJ and recommendation letter to the DEA appears to be the culmination of their review. It is only the recommendation and nothing happens instantly. The DEA still has to decide if they choose to reschedule it or not, right? So as I mentioned, they're trying to tame expectations, right? Don't get your hopes up, but we know it's coming, right? They can't fool us. We're not gonna play into that because we know it's just a matter of time, right? Whether it be officially signed into law or whether it be officially confirmed by the DEA in the first part of 2024, maybe Q1, maybe we get it over the next few months. I would argue it's probably going to be over the next few months. But all of the quotes and statements flooding the MJ media today were Republican Earl Blumenauer best summarized the feelings shared by many folks in the industry. This is a step in the right direction, but it's not sufficient. I hope it is followed by more significant reforms. This is long overdue. I agree. And like I said, it's just one stepping stone, right? There's going to be so many more catalysts. This is just the tip of the iceberg, right? And then biggest thing ever, MJ rescheduling recommendation hailed. So MJ Biz Daily. I'm not going to go through this because they kind of just go through a lot of the same thing, but a lot of companies and MJ stocks soared 20%. Let's go through here. So it says the DEA needs to review it and possibly a judicial review. The health official's statement that MJ has medical value remains a game changer. This is essential to ending the dumpster fire of MJ policy. It's a huge deal. Rescheduling MJ would dramatically reduce the steep federal taxes, as we mentioned. So it could also spur more banks and financial institutions to offer traditional banking services to MJ companies, reducing their long dependency on cash, right? As I mentioned, joining the 21st century and allowing purchases with credit cards and things like that. Like people are getting medicine. Their doctors recommending MJ as a medicine, right? They have some sort of ailment or disease or whatever, like cancer or something like that, and they're recommending MJ and they can't go buy it with their credit card. They have to do it with an ATM transaction. Like, come on, give me a break. The letter Tuesday from Assistant Secretary Health Rachel Levine sent to DEA Administrator Ann Milgram, first reported by Bloomberg News, is the latest development. So for more than 50 years, federal law has classified MJ as Schedule 1 controlled substance, officially designated it more harmful than fentanyl and methamphetamine. And on the same level as heroin and LSD. Can you tell me how that makes any sense? Like, who in their right mind? More harmful than fentanyl and methamphetamine? Like, give your head a shake, right? It kind of just makes you like, how do we live in the world like that we live? who are in these positions of policymakers? It's just like, took you this long, right? But obviously we don't have fair and orderly markets and rationale and logic, right? It's just people with agendas. And yeah, the pharmaceutical industry, right? They were just getting over the opioid crisis, right? So they need to figure that out. And then they need to get, I used to work for a pharmaceutical company, right? And that was the number one priority. How do we get into this MJ business, right? For like 2 years straight was like, oh, like drop everything, MJ, right? So when it's big when a pharmaceutical company, and I used to work for a pharmaceutical company that dealt with opioids, so they felt the wrath of that, and then all the lawsuits, right? Mallinckrodt was the name, but yeah, they got just absolutely pummeled, right? And they were desperate, right? And then we have big alcohol and big tobacco. I've still got tons of alerts coming in on my phone as well about just high volume traded on this MJ stock. this MJ stock up more than 10% today. But yeah, so we'll go through this a little bit quicker here. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to say. But they talk about DEA response before election day. So that's another thing too. So next year, right, is election year. So Biden mentioned that, that was going to be something that they would look to do. So it gives them incentive to get some sort of reform done before the 2024 election, because if not, the Democrats are going to be under pressure, right? And the Republicans probably swoop in. And as we know, like Ramaswamy, we know that RFK, there's been a lot of other candidates as well that are pro-MJ and psychedelics. So they're going to use it as a way to sway voters. But then also Biden administration and the Democrats are going to use it as a way to say, hey, so see, I told you we get something done. And you can already see it in the articles, right? The biggest thing in 50 years, right? This is the biggest thing for the MJ industry ever, right? In the US, which is not untrue. It's true, but I would say the biggest thing ever was when Canada legalized it, and then it's just game theory playing out, and then Germany, right? And then all the G20s, and it's just a matter of when, not if, right? But yeah, it's huge news, and then the Biden administration and the Democrats are going to use this as firepower to say, see, we did the biggest thing for the MJ industry in 50 years, or if not ever, right? So they could get the DEA response. In my opinion, it's probably going to be in the next few months that we'll get the DEA's response, and I think they'll meet in line with Schedule 3. Let me know in the comments what you guys think in the live stream or in the comment section if you're viewing this live stream after the fact. So there's no hard and fast deadline for the DEA's response, but most observers believe the recommendation is likely due before November 2024 presidential election. So we got time, right? Like I said, if you think you missed the boat, you did not miss the boat. Tilray was up. Like I said, it hit the other day 308, and then we were looking for a higher low compared to 216. Where did we get? 222. That was your entry point there. You could have said stop below 216, $2 psychological. But after that massive move, I see a ton of people saying there's a time like, did I miss the move? And then it dropped almost 30%. That was the time to enter there right at weekly support, right? We're still in a weekly uptrend, and we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. And then sure enough, here we are back at those highs. And I guarantee you there's still people out there saying, oh, why didn't I buy the dip? It's like, because you're listening to mainstream media, right? Or you're FOMO buying and you're panic selling. You're doing the exact opposite. So whatever your urge is to do, right? If you're, especially for somebody new, like, and new is like less than 5 years studying this, right? I would say, first year or two for sure. If you got an inclination to do something, if you do the opposite, you're probably better off, right? But the charts were saying that, and we're still not that, we still haven't recovered that much. So if you think that, and then, the US, the actual, if it actually gets rescheduled to Schedule 3, then it's going to take months for these companies to report earnings. And then when they start reporting earnings, it's going to be like, whoa, what happened? How come they have so much profit, right? This is going to be more beneficial for the US MSOs, but it's, like I said, it's going to be good for the whole industry because the whole industry moves together, not down to the second, the day, the minute, but over a monthly basis and on a yearly basis. If we look at these charts over the next 6 months to a year, they're all going to look relatively the same. Would one stock go up quicker than another in a certain time period if you cherry picked it? Absolutely. But on a holistic view, on a yearly view, it's probably going to be similar, right? So the US names are going to stand to benefit more from a profitability standpoint because of 280E, but this is eventually going to figure out like interstate commerce, and there's going to be country to country, right, international, and then there's going to be even more acceptance from that, right, and then that's going to benefit some of the Canadian companies, and then some of the Canadian companies are going to acquire U.S. companies, right, like MedMen. Tilray has the convertible notes in MedMen. We know that Cannabis has a deal with Acreage upon full-blown legalization, right? So we're going to see more mergers and acquisitions. And there's been talks of, U.S. MSOs, multi-state operators, even acquiring some Canadian producers, right? So that could happen as well. So we need to prepare for this, and we're still so early, it's not even funny. So the unprecedented speed in which HHS completed its leg of the process suggests that the DEA could issue a recommendation even sooner, which would trigger the federal rulemaking process. More federal reform would be required for MJ companies to legally ship product between states and other countries, as I mentioned. But the MJ industry was ecstatic Wednesday as the value of the shares in major multi-state operators such as Cresco and Green Thumb shot up by more than 20%. Talk about 280E. It's very clear that Americans are ready for this. Oh, you don't say. Only 60, 70% of the country wants it. It's time for our political leaders to catch up. Yeah, give the people what they want. You work for the people. We don't work for you. You work for us. The future of safe banking. So Wednesday's revelation could also help break the logjam in Congress, which would still where still necessary reform measures such as federal legalization banking protections remain in near limbo. Ultimately, I believe that MJ should be descheduled and strong federal regulations put in place to treat it as alcohol and tobacco, right? Those are poison. This is medicine. It's not rocket science here. So Safe Banking Act, which would forbid federal banking regulators from penalizing financial institutions to do business with state legal MJ operators. Previous versions of Safe Banking have passed in the House of Representatives 7 times, but only to be blocked in the Senate. And again, we could see a vote into this into the fall. So again, I said not holding my breath. Safe Banking would be great. We'll welcome it, but it's not going to remove 280E tax burden, right? So in my opinion, I said the most likely was Schedule 3, and if I had to pick, or if I was a betting man, I said I would pick Schedule 3 as the most likely scenario. And then if I had to choose between safe banking and rescheduling, I would say I'd rather reschedule it because it's going to remove 280E if it's Schedule 3 or higher descheduled, right? Safe banking would be great, but it's not going to remove that 280E. That's not going to be that catalyst that we need to break us out of a multi-year bear market and start a new multi-year bull market. What we needed was Schedule 3 or higher or descheduling. Right? And now we're getting that. And then we could get Florida on the ballot. We could get, we have Ohio. We could get legalization of medical. And then over the next few years, full-blown legalization in the U.S. Germany coming online, right? MJ Act review here in Canada. So there's so many things to be looking out for. Experts say safe banking will be necessary even if MJ is rescheduled. So again, I think we could get both. Imagine that. DEA comes back, reaffirms Schedule 3, and then we get a vote for safe banking. Because this is going to change the optics, right? Politics is all about optics. What have they been saying? Biggest thing for the MJ industry ever. Biggest thing in 50 years, right? And then they're going to say, well, maybe, and again, maybe the Biden administration wants to get something done and they'll take credit for it, right? And then the Democrats take control of the Senate, right? So now, look, we took control of the Senate. And then, ever since we took control and ever since, the Democrats were in office, we got the most done, right? And then they're going to use that as a way to potentially sway votes, in my opinion, into the 2024 elections in November. So this is great. But yeah, we could get safe banking as well. And it's just a 1-2 punch, right? And this is something that a lot of people wouldn't be like, I can't believe how many people I've seen so many people in the MJ industry saying that this was a surprise to them. They couldn't believe it happened. I was like, how? Like, you claim to be an expert in the MJ industry. And there's literally been talks of this and the charts are saying it, right? I just don't understand how people were surprised. Was I a little surprised that it came out yesterday a little bit, but like, again, the charts were saying like, and again, we knew that when HHS came out with it didn't mean that it was set in stone. It still had to go to the DEA and then go through the rest of its political, theater and theatrics, right? All this, jumping through hoops and red tape. So and nothing happens like overnight, right? So we knew that there'd be an announcement from HHS. Then it'd have to be signed off by the DEA head, and then it would have to go and actually become law, right? So there's a process to this stuff. So, and again, this is just that start of that process. So the rescheduling of MJ to Schedule 3 drug is not inconsequential. Wyden added in a statement, if HHS recommendations ultimately implemented, it will be a historic step for the nation whose MJ policies have been out of touch with reality. Other lawmakers that's pretty much it. Yeah. So they basically just echo the same thing, following more comprehensive reform. So we'll look at the chart here, and then we'll jump into the chat real quick. Again, I'm on vacation. I'm visiting friends and family. So I won't be on too long. I wanted to keep this around 30 minutes, and we're pretty much on par for that. But like I said, I mentioned yesterday, a couple people in the Power Group private community were saying, is this like a good time to buy, right? That's usually when things start going up, people say, oh, is now a good time to buy? Right? It's not the opposite. When we're at 52-week lows and all-time lows back here, no one wanted to buy. Everybody's like, oh, maybe I'll sell. And again, that was, when we were down here near weekly oversold, which literally means like the worst time to sell, right? Again, not telling you to buy, sell, or hold. This isn't financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. But that's literally what weekly and monthly oversold means, like the worst time to sell if you've been holding. If you haven't been holding and you're looking to add new money, it's like the best time to buy, right? So again, if you know nothing about charting, put this RSI indicator, go to indicators, type in RSI, relative strength index, and this will tell you whether things are overvalued, undervalued, overbought, oversold, right? We're down here at 30 or below, it's considered oversold. And then look, if you just bought right there when we were oversold, right? You'd now be up on a name like Tilray. It was up over 100%, right? Almost 105%. So again, we're starting to cool off, right? Higher lows and higher highs. But yesterday, I mentioned in the Power Group private community that we held key support there at 216 USD on the NASDAQ. So we got as low as 222. You were literally mere pennies away from that support. You could have entered with a stop loss below right there last week. And from that low, you could have had a swing trade of about 33%, right? It's all about support and resistance when it comes to technical analysis and looking at the macro trend. And look what hasn't happened. We had an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross back here on hopes of legalization when the Dems took control of the Senate. Right? Look at what happened. Then we had a bear cross with the shorter term moving average, the 12 period above the exponential 26 period. That crashed, then price dropped like 96%. Look what's happening again. We're seeing a bull cross of the EMA 12 and 26, which last time this happened, price went from about $7 all the way up to $67. And then when the bear cross happened, price went from about $18 to $1.50. So now we're seeing even more beaten down than before, and we're seeing a bull cross the first time since back here in 2020. Right, so it's been 3 years since we've seen this play out. Right, this technical pattern. So again, it's not the end all be all technical analysis, but it definitely gives you an edge, and that's why the saying goes, "Show me the chart, I'll tell you the news." So when I said, look at this. This is the first time this has happened in 3 years. We're probably going to get some major news, and it's not just Tilray. Right, all these other names are doing it. We had golden crosses across the sector. So if we bring up Tilray on the daily time frame. We had golden crosses forming, and look, it still hasn't even happened yet. So again, we haven't even seen the move yet. And look what happened last time we had a golden cross with the 50-day average, moving average below the 200-day. Look, it started to cross. We had some huge upside, and then we had a massive crash back down, confirmed it as support, and then we ran, right? Then we got the real move. So the same thing could happen. We get above the 200-day moving average. We're seeing it line up for a cross, but then we had a pretty big crash. We came back, confirmed it as support, and is it go time now? Potentially. Right? And then the next major resistance would be up there around $5. So, and then not only that, look at the weekly time frame here. So on the weekly time frame, we had all of these names starting to backtest their 10-week moving average. We had the stochastic and the MACD blasting off as well. So we were extremely bullish, right? So we need to be looking out for that. And again, it wasn't just Tilray, it was many names. We had BFF, we had all these major names. MSOS, USMJ was a little bit lagging, but again, that's what we were looking for, is because the leaders in the space and the ones with the most dollar volume are the Canadian names, right? So the names that were beaten down the most was the Canadian names. And what I said to be looking out for a bottom was to see the Canadian names with tons of volume, right? And reversals. Just one sec, folks. Sorry, folks. People just getting into the house here. Like I said, I'm visiting friends and family, so we'll wrap it up. But like I said, the charts are looking really, really good right now. If you think you missed your time, right, to enter, well, this was a really great time last week. But we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross where we were looking for that weekly higher low. And it's not the only name in MJ right now that's looking to absolutely explode. So we're looking really, really good. But we'll jump into the chat here real quick. My mom just getting home, so I do have to go help her with a few errands and stuff. Like I said, visiting friends and family, but I did want to come on and discuss the biggest thing ever. Right? So again, the Biden administration is going to use this. They're going to use it to their advantage. Say, look, we did the biggest thing ever for the MJ industry, and the Democrats are going to, they're going to look like gods at this point, right? So CDC, SNDL, and MJ leading the bull list today, but look at that. Tons of double-digit gainers on the day today. Oxley not getting any love, still sitting at around $1. Or sorry, $1, I wish. Penny and a half. PWR, NOVC leading the decline today. And on the U.S. names, we've got MSOS here, over 15% on the day today. We got TCNNF, so TrueLeave, Cura, and AYR over 20% today. And again, we knew that this was probably going to be bigger for the U.S. MSOs, right, because of the 280E tax burden. RWB, we've got BioHarvest and BMMJ leading the decline today. And again, the tier one names are going to run more, right? When the sector's beaten down this bad, the tier one names, the mega cap, right, the larger market cap ones are gonna run first. But the good thing, like I said, the good thing that MJ and the Canadian MJ was looking really, really strong. That's what we want to see, right? When the whole sector is down 80, 90%, right? U.S. producers, Canadian producers, retailers in the U.S., Canada, ETFs in Canada, the U.S. We want to see the Canadian names reverse quicker because they're listed on the U.S. capital markets like the NASDAQ and the NYSE, right? So when we start to see those names reverse course and show some significant signs of strength, that's what we want to see, right? The leaders in the space with the dollar volume, right? If you look at how much volume actually trades dollar-wise in Tilray, it's unlike anything, right? We're talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars trading in a single day. Whereas, a name like TrueLeave would only have like 10 or 20 million, right? You're not even comparing, it's not even anywhere close to comparing apples to apples, right? But it's looking really, really good here at the moment. But like I said, we still haven't even seen the golden cross occur yet on Tilray. Just one sec, folks. Anyways, my mom's dog's going to start going crazy here, so I'll have to wrap it up. Rather, man, thank you, Jam Lozy. I appreciate it. Oh, man, sold yesterday and missed the 20% on GTBIF today. Hard. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, if you're, again, time in the market is probably better than timing the market when we're down this long, especially if you're going long, right? But, yeah, in my opinion, now's not the time. Also, MSOS, we had that falling wedge here that broke bullish. And look, it said we were targeting 841, and we hit 682. So you just take that move here, or just move this over, I'll show you. You just take that range from the high to the low there, and then you move it out here to where the break occurred at that, and it says we're targeting about 841. So we can go up to about around $8, $8.50, and then pull back for a weekly inside bar or a weekly higher low, more than likely. We also had this hidden bullish RSI divergence forming on the chart as well. So, like I said, when you're this beaten down, when things are down 80, 90%, 100% move, like if that was your goal to enter a swing trade, maybe you have a long-term bag like me and you have a shorter-term swing trade as well. That's different. But, if you're only playing like swing trades and day trades right now in MJ and not longing it, I think that's a big mistake. You might want to, again, not telling you what to do, not telling you to buy, sell, or hold. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, but time in the market when we're down. And look at the freaking volume on MSOS. That is a record, right? That's what we want to see near a bottom. How long does it take for the DEA to approve recommendation from HHS generally? I found an answer 6 to 8 weeks, but not sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So they said that it could be in the next couple of months. I think it'll probably be in the next few months. Like, just, again, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. Based on what the charts are saying, I would say it's probably going to be in the next couple of months. And it also bodes well with the broader market being strong. And remember, Congress still hasn't been banned yet from owning stocks. So SPY, right, the S&P 500, it's going to be tailwinds, right? We want to see the broader market strong. And look, we're breaking on to a weekly higher high here after trying to hold EMA 12, and Congress still hasn't been banned from owning stocks yet. And look, we're very close to all-time highs here on the S&P 500. So this is what we want to see. We want to see MJ recover and get some more catalysts. Safe banking's another thing to look out for as well. And that could happen. We could get both of those, right? And then we could get the DEA come back and reaffirm Schedule 3. And yeah, it'll be off to the races. So I would say over the next few months is the most likely, but definitely by the first quarter of 2024, I would say, in my opinion. That's a great question, though. SNDL, and yeah, 6 to 8 weeks is kind of in my line of thinking with what the charts are saying. It's like over the next couple months, we should see some massive fireworks. I said into the fall and winter, into this year, I said I expected fireworks, and that's exactly what the charts were saying over the next few months, and that's exactly what we got. And again, it was just HHS recommending. Then we still need the DEA to approve it. Then it needs to go off and get officially approved by the Biden administration. Then it has to go back to then we get safe banking, right? And then legalization of medical. We'll figure all that out. So tons of stuff still to be figured out. SNDL broke that 186 big level. Yeah, so that I said VFF was a monster swing trade, and I said OGI, and OGI is a big, like OGI could be the next big one if you're looking for a good swing trade. But yeah, SNDL started that monthly bounce. So as soon as we broke 152, that was the go signal, and then that was about from there 20% of upside. So it's not that much upside though. But yeah, SNDL and OGI are going to be interesting from here. Look at VFF when it started its monthly bounce, it was up over 40%. But yeah, SNDL and OGI definitely next on the list to be watching out for. Canopy growth, yeah, Canopy is flying today, 26, and it hasn't even started the monthly bounce yet. So once it breaks 68 cents, we'll start the monthly bounce, and then we could even backtest EMA 12 there, which would still be 222% upside. So, and again, that's what names like Tilray are doing, right? Like it's testing its EMA 12. So if more names start to do that, VFF getting close to its EMA 12, ACB still a ways away yet. ACB is another one to watch, but I'm not a big fan of ACB. SNDL getting very close to its EMA 12 there. And look, CGC hasn't even started the monthly bounce yet, and it's still a long ways away. So yeah, it's CGC's just playing catch up. It was a great risk to reward as well. My mother just bought me a coffee, so dipping into that. DEA has 6 months to approve, so approximately until the end of February. Yeah, so exactly what I said that the charts were looking like too, right? It's like I think over the next few months, and then yeah, at the latest would be Q1 2024, in my opinion. And that's what I heard through the grapevine as well. Canopy growth moving big time, you bet. And it's because it's on a U.S. major exchange as well. Plus, if we get U.S. reform, it'll acquire acreage, right? So huge benefit for Canopy. And it's like, what do they know that we don't, right? And they're just too big to fail, in my opinion. Let's go, you bet. Do you think there can be a dip after these news? Yeah, so again, like I said, they're already starting to say, remember, this isn't set in stone, right? They're going to use this as a way to calm people down, tame expectations, and then they'll probably crash it. But again, just like back here, so with Tilray, when Tilray started to run here, I'll go on the weekly time frame because it's a little bit more clear. So when we shot up here to here, people were just in awe, right? They didn't know what to do. And then they were like, oh, when's a good time to buy, right? So back here when we were above $3, I said, well, just wait. Maybe we'll backtest EMA 12, maybe 250, is a good area to target. And then we dropped to 222. We had support at 216, right? And we pulled back about 30%. And then I said we could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. So the good time to buy was here on this dip after that massive move. But remember, now that we're bouncing on the weekly time frame, we could still see more downside. But again, now everybody's looking for an entry. So I wouldn't be surprised if we even broke above that recent high there at 308, continued to go higher. And then, maybe we top at around $4 and then we come down after we see that EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. Will good earnings now impact improvement? Tilray will have Hexos numbers next earnings. Yeah, but keep in mind they won't have the advisory fee, so it's basically going to offset it. It'll be basically the same. And then, so it's going to take a while. So once 280E gets removed and we get rescheduled to Schedule 3, it's going to take like many, many months, right? A couple quarters for it to actually come through. And then it's going to take a couple quarters for them to prove it, and then a couple of quarters after that for actually hit the numbers. So it's going to be at least like 6 months to a year before we really start to see numbers from the U.S. MSOs benefiting from removal of 280E. But yeah, not banking too much on Hexo into Tilray because again they had that advisory fee, which isn't going to be on next quarter. But the numbers from Hexo will be, so it should basically offset each other and be roughly about the same. Can Canopy reach $1 USD without reverse split? Good question. It's certainly looking good. They have until, what was it? They had until like October. I forget what the actual date was. But yeah, they could do. They've already proposed a 1-for-15 reverse split. I think that could happen. It's hard to say. I don't think it's going to be a big deal either way because, like I said, there's been pretty much every major name has done a reverse split, right? So it wouldn't be the only one in the space to do so. So, all right, going to wrap it up. Like I said, my family's getting home here and visiting friends and family, so still on vacation, so going to wrap it up. But thanks everybody for joining the live stream. Hopefully that was informative and just kind of giving everybody an update with regards to the technicals. Again, I didn't have a crystal ball, but based on what the charts were saying, we could expect a major move into the fall and into the winter, and that's exactly what we're getting. And like I said, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. But going into there, hope you have a great day. Thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Power Group, and we'll see you again on the next video. Take care.